What's up, you guys? Today we're going to be talking about one of the most important things when it comes to getting girls seduction, and that's approach anxiety. Getting nervous before you talk to a girl, getting scared. If you can't manage this first step, you're not going to be able to practice, you're not going to be able to get good at all. So it's really important that you learn how to manage this in your life, and really everybody deals with this issue, and that's why this video is so long. Now, in this video, you're going to find a lot of tips, a lot of the things that have helped us get over approach anxiety and get good. I got my buddy Chris Nova in here. I got Evil Stifler, two guys that know exactly what they're talking about. They got a lot of experience. They're very successful when it comes to single life and getting girls, and so what they have to say is really important on this subject. Now, I don't expect you to pay attention the entire time because it's such a long video, but during it, we're going to be giving you tips. We're going to be giving you things that have helped us. So if you have it in the background, if you have it while you're on Facebook, or maybe while you're at work or doing something like that, and you pick up one or two tips while we're talking, that's the way to do it. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. All right. What's up, you guys? So we're going to talk about a topic that a lot of people talk about, and it's because it's extremely important. Basically, I'm going to say this right now. Your ability to succeed, to do well with women, to improve, is dictated by your ability to handle your approach anxiety. Because there's a lot of people with titles like, you know, cure your approach anxiety for good, never get approach anxiety again. I see videos with titles like these. Anyone who's telling you this sort of stuff is lying, okay? You're never going to be able to get rid of your approach anxiety completely. It's always going to be there. You have to face your fears. There's no magic bullet. There's no secret recipe. There's no cheat code to getting over your insecurities, to pushing your boundaries, to going up and talking to a girl, okay? Even me, even Chris Nova here, even guys like Evil Stifler, where we've done this, you know, hundreds, thousands of times, like, we still get nervous, okay? It's not like we're just completely immune to all the regular stuff that people have to deal with. The difference is we don't bitch out, well, not all the time, but we get over it. We face our fears, and we actually start doing it.
And it's important to understand that, as Lloyd said, you're going to be dealing with this no matter what. Like, we've hooked up with hundreds of women, and yet we still have this, this still comes up. So what you want to do is you want to understand that this is going to be something that's going to come up for you, and you want to find a bunch of different things that you can basically add as like tools in your arsenal to overcome this. So that's what we've done.
Ask yourself the question, like, why you're doing this, okay? Because if you don't face your fears, and if you don't accept the fact that you need to take action, you're not going to get better. It's not going to happen. So what you need to get over this is you need leverage, okay? There's a reason why people got into this sort of stuff. There's a reason why people talk about success with women. There's a reason why people talk about pickup. And for me, at least, dude, like, I come from a place where it was like I wasn't having a whole lot of success through high school and college, unlike Chris here, who killed it in high school and college. I wasn't getting a whole lot of girls. So I
was terrible in middle school.
So I have a lot of leverage, man. I remember going to class, seeing all those hot girls that wouldn't give me the time of day. I remember seeing all of, like, the guys that I hated growing up hooking up with all of these girls and me getting nothing. I remember all of those things. And so every time I got approach anxiety, every time I was nervous, I would remind myself of those horrible things that I would not, no matter what, how much money you paid me, I would not go through that again. In fact, at the time, I was so committed to learning this that I was gonna, like, I was basically prepared. I was gonna learn this. I was gonna push myself and do everything I could to change it, or I would rather die.
Die trying.
I would rather die.
Yeah.
Seriously, I would rather die than be living as pathetic and as much of a loser as I felt like I was at that period of time in college. So you have to ask yourself, if your leverage isn't enough, and I'm not saying you have to go as hardcore as I was back then, but if your pain is there and your pain is fierce, you need to find a way to solve it, and it's not going to be easy. It's going to take facing your fears. It's going to take pushing yourself to that next level. Now, there are things that you can do to not to get rid of your approach anxiety, but to tone it down.
And actually, that's a perfect segue right before you go into that.
Yeah.
I think it's really important. Everything Lloyd said is on point, and it's really important to, before we go into the different strategies, tactics, and techniques that you can use to start to tone it down, as he said, and to overcome approach anxiety, what you want to do is you want to take that pain you're feeling and you want to use that as your why. Because when you know what you want in life and why you want it, it's incredibly fucking powerful. And you're going to get what the fuck you want. So you want to take that feeling of that feeling, all that pain you feel. Don't like put it to the side. Don't pretend it's not there. Use it, harness it, leverage it so that you can use it as fuel to add to the fire so that you can get what it is that you want.
I mean, what Chris is saying is just absolutely golden. I mean, that was really the difference, I think, that separated, because there was a lot of guys in my position. There's a lot of guys that weren't really like, you know, they weren't really succeeding in their goals. They weren't really doing what they wanted to do. And because they didn't step up and they didn't take action, they didn't get better. But my leverage was I knew my leverage was bigger than them, and I knew my why was more concrete and more secure than theirs. And that's why no matter what happened, no matter how bad things got, which you will embarrass yourself, you are going to encounter situations where you don't look good. Like, it's most of the time it's not going to end well, and for you to get over that stuff, for you to truly push yourself, you need to have leverage. Okay, so let's go into the tactics. So one of the things that I like to do that I think really helps right off the bat is, first of all, get a guy to go out with you. Get a wing. Get someone to go
Have
out
a
with you.
wingman, yeah.
I mean, me being by myself and doing this and going up and talking to girls, like, it sucks, man. You know, it's infinitely better, infinitely easier to have a buddy there, to have a guy who's got your back. And if you can't find somebody, you can go online. RSD Nation has like people out there that you can search for. Just having a guy, even if he's not good, even if he's totally miscalibrated, it's better than being by yourself. Just to have a guy to bounce ideas off of, to come back to, having like a little bit of a safe base. Like, I would love to
especially in the beginning phases where you're really dealing with stuff for the first time. It just acts as kind of like a support network to have at least one other guy there with you, so that no matter what happens, if the night seems to go badly, you still have that kind of that buffer of that other friend there with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I would look forward to actually going out with Chris and talking to girls, but I wouldn't look forward to it if I was by myself.
We're gonna have to continue that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to continue that.
So more cool stories coming up.
Okay, so and then the second thing that I would say is stop thinking like 10 steps ahead. So a lot of times, guys, when they walk up and they talk to a girl, they start already thinking about like, oh, what am I gonna say next? What's like the next move to be able to take her back to my place? They're already thinking about these sorts of awkward situations that they're going to get in, and it's good to visualize, it's good to handle the objections ahead of time, but if you don't focus on the fact that all you're doing is you're walking up and you're talking to a girl that you don't know, if you focus on a bunch of million other things, you're gonna freak yourself out. You're gonna get yourself paralysis by analysis. You're not gonna do it. You're gonna over rationalize. Just focus on, like, if you can't do anything, dude, just focus on walking up and asking for the time. Or just something really basic so you can get that out of the way. Small goals.
A lot of anxiety comes from thinking about things that aren't happening in the present moment. And actually, this reminds me of something very valuable I learned that I'll share with you guys, which is the word fear, which is actually an acronym. So fear, right? You're afraid. What is fear? False evidence appearing real. False evidence appearing real.
Yeah.
So
I like
you like that? So
I hadn't heard that for a while, actually.
For sure. So what that means, and what we're getting at, is you're afraid of something because you're visualizing something that's either in the past, or you're thinking of something that's might happen in the future, but you're not usually feeling fear, for the most part, in the present moment. So if you can bring yourself back to the present moment, and you could focus on just the next thing that you can do. What's the next step you can take? So if you're approaching a girl or woman and you are feeling afraid of doing that, just focus. Literally, you're like, dude, what do I have to do? All I have to do is actually focus on just going up and talking to her. There's nothing else happening. I'm just going up and talking to a girl. So once you do that and you're like, fuck, I can just whatever. I can say anything. I can use an opinion opener. I can go up and I could say, hey, what's up? I could be like, well, you could do whatever it is, as long as you realize that that's all you're doing is just going up and
Hey,
our very fluffy dog just walked up. What's up, Mr. Wolf? Beautiful half husky wolf dog. When you just realize that that's all you're doing is just going up and just opening, that's all it is, and so it becomes a lot less scary. So hopefully you can integrate that and use it.
Okay, cool. So that's one thing I would start. Don't think 10 steps ahead. Start with the first basic point, which is that you're just walking up, you're saying hi, you're talking to a girl, and then on top of that, I would also add, start with small wins, okay? I think you got to give yourself some small wins. If you think that, okay, I've never approached a girl, so I'm going to go to the hottest club in Miami and I'm going to start trying to talk to girls there, you're going to have a tough time, man. These girls are not going to want to talk to you. They're going to blow you out.
I have something that will be really helpful here, and that is the idea of systematic desensitization. And I think we've covered this. We may or may not have covered this in other videos, but this is something that
Why don't you talk about it here?
That I've covered in another video on my channel. But basically, this is a really powerful idea, and that is this is a really powerful idea, and that is systematic desensitization. So what does that mean? What is systematic desensitization? It means that you are progressively, systematically desensitizing yourself to things that would otherwise cause you discomfort. So it means moving in increments, one step after the other, after the other, after the other, towards your goals, as opposed to just making like a quantum leap. So for example, instead of thinking that you're just gonna pull all these hot girls that are in a group at a nightclub, and you've never done anything, you not even haven't just done that, you haven't even been able to go up and say hi, then what you want to do is you want to break all these things down into micro steps. So what's an example of a micro step? The first thing you might do is go up and ask a beautiful girl what the time is, and then literally she'll say, oh, it's 3:35, and then you can take that and you can run away, and go back to your comfort zone. The point is that you took one step. Then what's the next thing you do? After maybe asking what the time is, you can ask her how her day is going. So then you go up and you're like, okay, so, hey, do you know what time it is? And then they tell you, she's like, oh yeah, it's 3:35. And then you're just like, oh cool, like what's your name by the way? It's like, oh, my name's Lisa. And then you're like, okay, and then you go away. The point is that each progressive time, you are adding one sequential thing. And by doing this in this way, using systematic desensitization, you're going to be able to progress from wherever you are to wherever you want to be far, far faster.
Absolutely. One trick that I used is I used to talk to, like, I would make conversation. If we were at a restaurant, I would make conversation with the waitress. If I was at a store, I would make conversation with like the person behind the checkout counter. If I was getting a cup of coffee, again, making a conversation. These are kind of safe bases where like it's their job, like they're at work, like they're gonna be nice to you. It's just like a little win that you can have. Where like, oh, I just talked to a girl, I just talked to a stranger, and I didn't shit my pants or like nothing crazy happened. You get kind of used to the fact that okay, I can talk to a random girl who's a stranger.
And once you get comfortable with that, you prove yourself. And so that once you're comfortable with doing that, you can progress it to one step further. And that's how it works. That's how anybody in this game gets to be really good, is by going from wherever they are to where they want to be by just progressively, sequentially moving along step by step.
Yeah, and I would say if you've been doing this for a few months, that's too long. Like you should already be done with your systematic desensitization.
Let's make that more specific. You should be done with it for as far as approach anxiety goes, right?
Yeah, so you shouldn't be like, when someone asks you, hey, how's it going with girls? You should be like, well, I'm still working on my approach anxiety. He's like, but dude, you've been going out for 3 months. You're still working on that? Like, you haven't gone past the first stage? Like, you should be moving along a little more faster than that. Usually when you first start out, that's when you're going to experience the most approach anxiety. When you first go out, when you first girl that you talk to, that first set, whatever it is, usually that's the hardest thing to do. The first 2 or 3 of those, once you push through those, then that usually gets a little bit easier unless you get really, really bad reactions. If you get really bad reactions, what I like to do is I'll go talk to just anybody. If it's a dude at the bar, if it's a fat chick, whoever it is, just to get into the social mode so I'm able to talk to people a little bit more easily. And I think that's a good tactic to start out with. Just talk to anyone, dude. Like, just when you first get out, like, just make a conversation with idle people, like maybe while you're standing in line to the club, or maybe if you're at the bar ordering a drink, if there's just a couple guys next to you, just say, hey, what's up, man? How's your night going? Get into that social mode. Once you find out that it's easy to talk to just strangers in general, you're going to have a lot easier time talking to the hot girls or the girls that you are actually interested in talking to, and you're not going to have as much approach anxiety.
Exactly. Again, this is a really prime example of this idea of progressive desensitization. Because you could think of everything falls within this understanding. So you go into a bar, or you're in a club or something, and you're not feeling very social. You don't really feel like talking to people, and you particularly don't feel like talking to hot girls. So what you want to do is you want to go up and you want to first talk to anybody. So exactly as Lloyd said, talk to some guys, talk to someone else in line. Talk to a fat girl, talk to whoever it is, get yourself into that more social state, and then go up to your first group of girls or your first girl. And again, anything you can do to open is going to be great, and just to kind of get yourself feeling more social. And once you get through that first initial point, you're going to start at least feeling better, and you're going to start seeing some success, and it's going to create momentum for the rest of the night.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's one technique that I use. Once you get in the social mode, there's a certain point where people call it, like, the RSD guys, they call it in state.
In state, right.
Where you're just so on it. You feel like in such a social mode that you're not getting approach anxiety anymore. You're just walking up and you're talking to girls pretty effortlessly. Everything seems fine. People want that to be the norm. They want that. Why can't every night be like this when I go out? Well, it's not gonna. It only happens when you're doing really well. Okay, so when the going's good, it's good. When it's bad, it's bad. And this is what we're helping you out with when it's bad. But we're teaching you techniques that you can kind of jumpstart that in state, that systematic desensitization, so you're being social and you're not actually getting nervous the next girl that you have to talk to. Because by the end of the night, if you've been talking to 10 or 11 girls, usually the 12th one isn't that hard, unless you're having a really bad night. Then the whole time it could be kind of a whole painful stretch. But if you're having a good night, no problem. Things are pretty easy. I would say that as I go out more, this is one thing that I don't do quite as much of as I used to. When I first started out, I was like, I got to talk to the first people that I see when I get into the club or the bar. Now I don't really do that. I'll actually sit back, chill out. If I'm with a buddy, I'll just kind of talk to him. But I can kind of turn it on whenever I don't know if you have this too, where you can just kind of turn it on when you need to. And although I might get a little nervous before the first girl that I talk to, as soon as I start talking, it's fine.
I feel that I can turn it on too, but I think that I still find it very useful to be able to just start talking to people right away.
Absolutely.
And I would say, especially when you're starting out more towards the beginning, you want to make it a habit and a tendency that you're going to start talking to pretty much anybody that you see when you start to see them. It just goes better that way. It takes a little bit longer to get to the point that Lloyd's talking about, which is great that he's at, but the point that you're like, okay, I don't need to talk to anybody, I'm just going to turn it on. You can do that. You can certainly do that and get to that point. But for the most part, especially in the early phases, you want to just start talking to anyone as soon as you get into a venue. And again, this has been deemed what's called the 3-second rule. And there's a lot of validity to it because it just forces you to get into that state right away, right from the get-go, and leaves no room for bullshit or for any fucking excuses to pop in your mind.
All right, so one of the things that we were talking about, and with approach anxiety, is even the big man Evil Stifler sometimes gets nervous. But one of the things that I like to do when I'm getting a little nervous when I'm out is I'll just start talking to anyone really. Like even if there's like a fat chick, a dude, whoever, I'll just start talking to somebody randomly, and I'll do that at the beginning, and that I think helps out a little bit with some of the nerves that you get at the beginning of the night. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that when we live our lives and we're at work, you talk to your coworkers a little bit, you talk to, maybe say hi to somebody at the coffee line, but when we go out and it's a social environment, it's a different kind of conversation because you don't have anything to talk to them about except for the fact that you're trying to fuck. So when that puts a whole different spin on the approach of the conversation, and starting the conversation is half the battle, guaranteed. But I think that Lloyd has a good suggestion when you go out and talk to people, see them, like it's a random crowd of people, try and practice on them. Break into this as anybody's conversation, and that way when you go to talk to some girls that are talking with each other, it's not as awkward for you in the beginning. Or there's always the other angle of not being a little bitch and just walking up and introducing yourself with your fucking hand out.
Yeah, it's
nice to meet you.
Exactly.
And to stand there awkwardly with your hand out until they grab it.
Yeah,
deal.
We've been talking a lot about like how basically people are looking for this magical cure for approach anxiety, that you're just not going to get nervous. The cure is just not being a pussy. There's really no way to like sugarcoat this. It's going to be tough the first time you start.
You might get rejected. Oh well, you might make yourself. All right, so here's the deal. Let's say you're going to get rejected. Let's say that you guarantee you walk up to these two chicks, they're going to be like, bye, whatever, fuck you, 100% that's going to happen, right?
It might happen.
But you go in anyhow. And you go in, and you put your hand out, and you introduce yourself. And you get their names. Say, hi. Always introduce yourself first. Never walk up to a girl and be like, yo, what's your name? Because it's fucking, it's chauvinistic and stupid.
It's disrespectful.
It's disrespectful. Always introduce yourself first. Hey, how's it going? I'm James. Nice to meet you. And then they don't want to be awkward and rude to a stranger. They just walked up to him and said hello to him. Unless you're like walking up and you smell like fucking dick cheese. they're probably going to sit there and talk with you, but they might shine you on for a second. But that doesn't matter. That's not the point of the exercise. The point of the exercise is just to be able to go up and talk to them confidently and be able to start a conversation. So
Exactly.
and end the conversation. You know, you don't always have to hang out for very long. You can introduce them, say, "Hey, oh yeah, cool, right on. Oh, hey, I'll be right back." You know, and then like go to the bathroom or like walk over to the bar. Even if you don't have to do anything, sometimes it's good to jump into a conversation, leave, but the good impression. Let the girls talk it over for a second, so you're not sitting there having to impress them all the time, and then come back in a minute after you go to the bar, to the bathroom. Even if you don't need to get anything from the bar or the bathroom, just leave for a second and then come back, and that gives you a little bit of space for them to decide if they like you. You'll have a better judgment on them, and you'll also have a little more space to talk because you know you don't look so thirsty.
Yeah, exactly. So that's actually a good point. I'm probably going to do another video on this where it's like you kind of want to end on, you kind of want to know when to end conversations. Like I like to end on a high, and then maybe come back after a bunch of dudes have like tried their luck, haven't had any success because you know the type of girl she is or whatever, and then you come back later. But what are some things that you like to do, or you just want to comment on that?
Well, yeah, kind of. I'm not saying like leave them alone long enough for some other dudes to come up and start talking to them. If some other dudes do start coming up and talk to them, and you can tell that they're not really feeling them, then you can come back in as the fucking cool guy, and you can chode them off.
Yeah, I'm just assuming that if you leave, like if she's a hot girl, like some dudes are just gonna run. Hey, what's up?
Yeah, no, and we're both correct on this because if you leave and some dudes come back, you know they might fucking blow themselves out of the water, but also at the same time, like I'm saying, you're gonna be able to come back in as a fresh perspective on there,
Yeah.
and you can tell. You watch the body language. If it looks like the guys are killing it, you better go in. You better go back in strong. But if the guys are kind of like, man, the girl's like, nah, you don't want to like act like a fucking chode who's not coming back and talking to these two girls after you just had a good conversation with them, because these other two fucking nerds are talking to her, I assume this is a group of girls. I always picture two in my head.
It's the most common.
It's the best.
Well, if you're out with a buddy, yeah, it's the best.
If you're alone, and
If you're alone, it's good
two.
too. Yeah.
Good times all around. But yeah, approach anxiety is something that it's half of the fucking game. It's
Yeah,
half of the
but
game.
what you do, so sometimes, like, we talked about this, like, even the two of us, sometimes we'll be out and we'll be in bitch mode. Like, what's some things that you do to get yourself out of bitch mode?
All right, so like, let's say I went to go talk to some chicks and they totally tooled me out. It didn't go over well. I'm not feeling that great. I've had a couple drinks. I thought I was feeling good, but then I'm not, Or maybe you're not drinking at all. But let's just say that you're going out and you're at the normal bars or a club or whatever, and you talk to some girls, and then like you get your energy down from some depressing bitch like not giving you the time of day or whatever.
Yeah.
Or some like fucking random ugly girl talking shit to you when you're trying to holler at her friend, which is the fucking worst. When you're just like, why are you even fucking talking? Like, you obviously just don't want your friend to have anybody else in your life but you, because you're the only one that she hangs out with. Anyhow, a lot of built
Symbiotic
up.
relationship.
Fatty and Skinny went to bed. Fatty rolled over and Skinny was dead.
Yeah.
It's a classic rhyme.
They tell that to you in school.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Like, I think that a lot of it is just me saying, "Fuck this." It doesn't really matter to me because I don't let it sink in. I don't take it to heart. I find it amusing. There's some chicks and it sucks. Like if she's hating on, if you have a friend who's hating on you and her friend, that kind of sucks. But at the same time, it's not the fucking end of the world. And there's gonna be plenty of friends out there. The worst part is when one of your buddies comes up and fucks it up for you. Like if you're hanging out with a group of your friends, and there's a group of girls, and like you bring over your friends, and you're like, hey, these are my friends, and you introduce them to their friends, and then your friends
they all
fuck
suck.
it up
Yeah.
and say some fucking creepy weird shit, and then you're like, dude, what the fuck did you say to her friend? And then I'll ask the girl, I'm like, what did my buddy say? He's like, she called him fucking fat, or like he said that fucking she looked poor, or some fucking weird fucking shit, like some random, like, because I feel like a lot of guys try to make fun of girls and
To try and build themselves up a little bit.
just like,
Push them down, bring themselves up.
I don't know, not even more than that. It's more of like an insecurity of they want to build a sexual tension between the two of them by like teasing, which can work if you're good at it.
Yeah, they
But
just
if
don't know
you're
how
not
to break.
good at it,
They
comes
just
up
don't know how
fucked
to
up.
break rapport. Yeah.
So the approach anxiety, how to get over approach anxiety. I feel like it's such a small topic. There's only a couple real answers.
I think it just comes down to like literally you got to step up and want it bad enough. That's what I think.
You know, I think a lot of it is like you might see some girls you know are single. They're talking to some other guys. You feel awkward. You don't want to walk into that group because they're already talking to the other guys. The other guys might be like, yeah, whatever, bro, and like, or you might be like, you know, tooling the other two guys, and the girls are like, you know, they don't like that you're trying. It sucks because once you start getting into a competition for attention, women pick up on that instantly, and then everybody loses.
Pretty much.
Unless you're gonna alpha male the shit out of it, and then you know you just got to be like dominating towards the other two guys, which is fun, you know. But that takes you just physically kind of grabbing the girls and start making out with them in front of them and shit like that. But, you know, so there's different sets to have anxiety, and it's not every single situation you're going to be in is going to be the same. So you might have no anxiety talking to a group of girls that are by themselves. You might have no anxiety coming up and talking to one girl. You might have no anxiety talking to a group of whole people that's there, so you can feel like, you know, you might be able to flirt with the girl a little bit, but still break into the conversation. You know, so... But the reality of it is you probably will have an anxiety with all of those. Because if you're attracted to the girl, the first thing we start to do is, you know, you want to, you kind of build up these walls and give yourself little excuses of why, oh no, like, you know, I don't have enough money to buy her a drink, or
my hair doesn't look good,
or she's fucking... You might like start knocking on her a little bit, like, oh, she's not that hot.
Yeah,
you know,
that's the
she's okay.
one.
Yeah, I think that's the best one. Is like, she's not that hot. But in the reality of it, if you looked at her in the first place, there was something that was attractive, and you should go with your gut on that. And you know, don't be so judgmental, because women definitely are not as judgmental of men as we are of them. Guaranteed. Like if you put 10 hot chicks and 10 hot
Some
guys
be pretty
in a room,
nasty, man.
I know that, but women statistically are not as judgmental as men. Like there's studies on this.
Okay, all right. I see what
Women will judge a group of men less harshly than a group of men will judge a group of women. Dudes will be like, oh no, too fat. 6% body fat on the lower butt.
Well, they've done studies and they say that women on average think that guys are like less attractive than the way guys think women are attractive. But in terms of like, I guess, you know, cutting them down, women are usually a little bit nicer than men are.
Yeah. So anyhow, point being, just go in and try.
Stop coming up with excuses. Everything you just said is an excuse, and then you're gonna find yourselves falling into these traps when you go out, telling your buddies, "Yeah, she wasn't that hot. Whatever, it's fine." Or like, "Yeah, she looks like a bitch." Or you're gonna say all of these things.
Yeah.
And it's just coming down to the fact that you didn't go up and say hi, or you didn't go up and talk to her.
And at the end of the day, you're gonna be like, "Meh, I wish I had to talk to that chick a little more," because the day's over. She's gone. Who knows what she's doing?
Yeah. But you kill yourself after sometimes. Like if I was at like the grocery store and there was like a chick like at the cash register and if she was fine, if I didn't like say something or like
it's your fucking job as a man to say something to her. Like,
I know, that's what I mean. Like if I don't, then I'm
feel bad.
Then I'm kicking myself.
You just kept doing it and doing it. I'd say that's
before
that's the best. If you tried it for 100 times and do it and do it and do it and do it and do it, eventually you're gonna fucking get better results. But if you don't do it and you keep giving yourself the same excuses, you keep hanging out with the same friends that aren't helping you out, you keep hanging out with going to the same bars where there's no chicks, you have to switch your scene up. You know, try it. Go out by yourself. Really, it's tough, but that's what really fucking sharpens your teeth, is going out by yourself, stepping up, introducing yourself to chicks. If women are like, "Oh, are you here alone?" "Yeah, I'm in from out of town." "Yeah," or whatever. Like, "Yeah, you're here alone." "Oh yeah, I just had a couple hours between a flight," or whatever. You know,
my friends left.
Or my friends fucking left. Or, "Bitch, you're my friend now." "I thought we were friends. I guess we're not friends anymore." That makes you awkward. "I gotta go." Hear some weird shit like that. But yeah, keep trying. That's what I do. If you fail, so what? That's fucking life. But you keep going, and eventually it's going to work. You just have to keep hitting on chicks all the time and keep walking up to people and never. That's how you get over anything. It's practice.
Exactly. I'd say learn to laugh at yourself too, man. Like honestly, if I go up, me and Evil Stifler are hanging out, and I go up and talk to a girl, it doesn't go too well. I'll like tell the story, and he'll usually laugh. He'll usually like laugh and point.
What's up, you guys? The camera cut out while we were talking to Evil Stifler. Basically, all I was saying was that when you go up and talk to a girl and it doesn't go well, you should laugh. You should be able to laugh at yourself. I mean, if you're taking this stuff where we go up and talk to girls and try to pick up women super seriously, it's gonna be really hard to laugh at yourself. But at the end of the day, you have to realize we're just talking shit to random strangers, and it's funny. Like that, it's funny, the crazy situations that you get into, and you gotta be able to laugh at them. Because at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy the process, you don't enjoy these types of crazy things that happen to you, then you're not gonna get good and you're not gonna stick with it. I mean, in my life, I'm just thinking about the things that have happened to me. Most of the funny stories that I tell, most of the hilarious things that have my buddies cracking up for days are things where I don't look that good, or it doesn't turn out the way I thought it was going to turn out, or maybe things didn't go well, okay? Those types of stories are hilarious. We usually laugh about them, and then we'll high five, and then we'll go talk to some other girls, okay? It's part of the process. It's part of the process of enjoying it, going out, having fun, being social. These are the things that happen, man.
All right, you guys. Well, that's most of what we have for approach anxiety. Unless Chris Nova has any final thoughts. I mean, the tips that we kind of gave were basically, you know, everybody struggles through this. Realize that everyone's going through approach anxiety. You're not special just because you're introverted or because you feel like you have intense social anxiety. Okay. Everyone has to deal with this sort of stuff.
I would add that it's not even, let's clarify, it's not that you're not special. It's just like it's not, you shouldn't feel like you should beat yourself up about the fact that you have approach anxiety. It's really, really fucking worth
It's not
noting.
an excuse.
It's definitely not an excuse.
It's not an excuse not to do it.
And it's especially not an excuse understanding that no matter how good you get with game with girls, and no matter how many girls you've had sex with, you're always going to still have an aspect of this approach anxiety that you're going to need to overcome for the most part. And that's what we want to leave you with, is with these final thoughts, is that it's still something you're going to deal with. It's just that you get better and better and better at fucking preparing yourself for how to deal with it and subsequently overcome it. So with that in mind, it makes it a lot easier to be able to go out and to make shit happen with women.
Absolutely. And then some of the tips that we have to basically cut down on the amount of approach anxiety, again, not going to be able to completely eliminate it, but cut down is, first of all, go out with a good wing that's going to push you. Stop thinking 10 steps ahead. Start using that systematic desensitization to take those little baby steps on to give yourself a little bit of confidence. And then realize that women are just human beings too, man.
Right.
Like, realize that you're literally just going up and having a conversation with somebody. There's nothing scary. We're not in caveman times where people are going to get killed for talking to the wrong woman. We're in the modern day era, and the worst that's going to happen to you is she's just going to like maybe ignore you and then walk on, and then you're going to be right back to the place that you were before.
There's no room left for you to cop out with excuses of why you can't do it, or because if you give yourself more than 3 seconds, this is why. You're looking at her and it's like, okay, well, it's like, like the clock's ticking, and she sees you looking at her, and you're just like, but she's really hot, and there's like that guy with her, and maybe what if she doesn't like what I'm wearing or what I look like, or like 1,000 fucking reasons of why you can't do it will pop in your head, and they're all bullshit. So if you just go and approach within those 3 seconds, you don't have any room for any of that stuff to happen.
Yeah.
That's the premise of why you want to do that. And remember, fear, false evidence appearing real. Just stay in the moment, take action, and there's always, remember, jump and the net will catch you. There's always something there's always going to be something that you're going to be able to gain from the experience, and there's really nothing bad that's going to happen to you.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, you guys. So if you made it to the end, consider subscribing. Coming out with videos like this every single week. Chris Nova's got a book called Win with Women that you guys check out. Do you have anything you want to say about that?
It's just a full blueprint on how to attract the kind of women that you want and basically achieve your goals in every area and become a total fucking boss with women in life. So if that sounds interesting to you, then definitely check out my book. We'll have links to it somewhere. But in the meantime, stay tuned, guys, for more videos from this guy. You'll see me sometimes. And with that, peace.
If you have any questions about this, feel free to put in the comment section below or email me at thesingleguy2017@gmail. I do coaching as well, so if you really want a guy who's going to take your results to the next level, this is the place to do it. All right, thanks a lot, you guys.